What I want to do today is show you how to change a tire. Not difficult, very easy, and I'm going to show you a few things that you should look at to see if you should change your tire, and then we're going to see how simple it is to change a tire. Let's go. This specific model of vehicle is a 2011 Subaru Outback. First of all, when you see your tire and you're evaluating whether or not you need to replace it, look at your sidewall. If you see cracking like this, that means your tire is dried out and rotting. That's what all this cracking is. So that's not a good sign. It looks like there's some camber or caster wear on the outside here. It's worn out more on the outside than on the inside. You can see the tread, and there in the middle looks pretty good still, but out here it's like wearing down very quickly. Another way to confirm the age of this tire is to look at the DOT tag. So if you look for DOT, find the DOT, then look down, and you see these numbers. Now the only numbers that really matter are the last four numbers, 5117. So I think that's week 51 of the year 2017. That means these tires are 7 years old. From 2017 to 2024, 7 years old. To give you an idea, the average lifespan of a tire is 5 years. So this is way past those 5 years. Tires, like shoes, like many things, they don't stay good. They eventually wear out. That happens with everything, especially the less you use it. If you find a brand new tire from a really long time ago, you should probably just not use it, because that tire is probably really dry rotted, and all the tread is probably going to fly off at some point while you're driving. And that's happened to me before, and you don't want to be in that situation. Trust me, it'll cause a lot of damage and potentially even your demise. So be careful. Another thing to look for is, the tires matching. Now, at the very least, the front two tires are matching, which is okay, and the two rear tires are also matching, which again is okay. So DOT, you see the DOT right there. You go down to the last four numbers, 2616. So this is actually 8 years old, and again, you're seeing that telltale cracking on that tire. And if we look at here, the tread still looks okay, it still looks meaty, but again, on the edges we have more wear than on the inside. So that is definitely something to look at. Maybe we need to inflate the tires more, keep them at a higher pressure, or look into why it's wearing a lot more on the edges. For comparison, these are the wheels and tires that are going to be going on the vehicle. A lot nicer wheels, a lot nicer tires. As you can see, really no wear at all on these. And if we look for the date, DOT 2222. So that means that these are only a couple years old. So these are still in really good shape, practically new, and they still have at least another 3 years in them, which is great, is what we want to see. Now, how do you remove these? Well, we're going to need a couple tools. So I have this air tool here, and it has a 19mm socket, which is what you're going to need. 19mm, 5 of them. So that's number one. You don't need an air tool like me. You can use hand tools to get these off. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult and slower. You need a jack stand and you need a jack. You don't need this giant automatic pump hydraulic jack thing. You can just use the trunk, whatever you want to call it. It's usually underneath all this crap. I don't want to dig through it. So, especially because there's like stuff on top. Don't want to dig through that right now. So but there is a jack in there, and there's also a donut, a little tiny spare tire in there as well. So if you need your spare, you need your jack, you'll find them there. So the first thing I'm looking for is underneath the car. There should be a pinch weld that's marked off. You'll see a couple of notches usually, or if you can't find it, your car's like user manual or repair manual will tell you where to lift up your car from. You look underneath, you see a couple of little notches there, right there on the pinch weld. That's where the jack goes. And I'm gonna stick the jack stand under there on that bar right there, probably that stuff, just for safety, so the car doesn't fall down while I'm working on it. Now, usually, if you're using hand tools, you're going to want to loosen this first. So you take your 19mm and your breaker bar or whatever you may have on hand, your ratchet, wrench, and you loosen these. You're not going to take them all the way off because then your car is going to fall on you, but you're just going to loosen them so that they're not impossible to take off once the tire is off the ground, because sometimes what will happen is the tire will just keep wanting to spin and you won't be able to get a good grip on it to loosen or to break the bolts loose or the nuts loose. So I'm going to do that right now. Usually when I have my impact tools with me, I don't bother loosening it on the ground. I just lift it up and then I loosen it, take everything off all at once. But just for demonstration purposes, that's what you want to do. So now that you've broken them loose, we can lift it up all the way. And at this point, you're probably gonna want to have your emergency brake on and all of that stuff. You put your emergency brake on so that the car doesn't roll anywhere you don't want it to. And then we're gonna stick this bad boy underneath there as an extra precaution so that things don't fall on us in case the jack fails. And now we can take this all the way off. There we go. All 5 lug nuts are loose, and when you're taking them off, order doesn't matter, but when you tighten them back up, you're going to do so in a very specific order, which I'll show you as soon as I replace the tire. Now, again, as you can see, this tire still looks pretty meaty, but if you look on the sides, it's worn down quite a bit. So it's probably like a potential alignment issue or worn bushings type of issue that that I might want to get looked at. Now, another thing you're going to want to look at on your tires is if they are directional. And if they are directional, there's going to be an arrow somewhere on the outside of this pointing in one direction, that way or that way. And that means whatever direction it's pointing, it's the way it should be rotating when moving forward. And that affects where the tire is going to be mounted. So if this had an arrow pointing that way, I wouldn't be able to mount it on that side because then it would be backwards. But I would be able to mount it on this side because it's pointing clockwise, which means it'll be rotating in the correct direction when it's moving forward. Another thing is there might be a little red circle. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right there. And that denotes that is the outside of the tire. So you can see, if you look on this side, there's no red circle of any kind, but on this side there is. So that means outside, but that's more of a when the tire is mounted onto the wheel itself. So we don't need to worry about that right now. And as far as everything looks on here, everything looks good. The studs look good. Everything is good to go. So we're gonna throw this on here. There we go. Very nice. And now we can start tightening these back up. Now first, we're gonna hand tighten these. Not really hand tighten, but just put them on by hand. Just a few turns. Make sure it grabs on there. You don't need to tighten it all the way down. You just need to make sure that it is in fact on the stud. There we go. And now we can start tightening it. So what you need to do here is go, let me show you. So with 5 lug wheels like these, we're gonna go in a star pattern. So we're gonna tighten this one first, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one. And you can start on any one you like. For example, if I started tightening on this one, then I would simply go here, 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 and here, or here, 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 and here. Like I said, in a star shape. That's how you want to tighten it, to make sure that it is tightened evenly. And I'm also not going to tighten it all the way. I'm going to tighten it pretty good. I'm going to snug it down, but I'm not going to like crank on it with this thing, because that could potentially break a stud. So that's the other thing that we're going to get to, which is the torque rating. What specific torque do you need to tighten these nuts down to so that the tire is safely mounted but not over tightened? But we'll get to that. So first, let's tighten this up. Good. And now that we have it snugged in, we can remove our jack stand, and we're going to let this down slowly, gently. There we go. Excellent. And now we can look up the specific torque rating and tighten it down to that with a torque wrench. Now, if you're on the road, you're just gonna have to kind of feel it out in an emergency case, because chances are you don't have a torque wrench with you. So just tighten it good by hand, really good, as tight as you can, without like overdoing it. Like, don't step on a breaker bar and like jump up and down on it to tighten it. Just tighten it by hand as much as you can, and just take it easy all the way home until you can tighten it down to the correct spec. Okay, so I have my torque wrench, and I went ahead and looked up the torque specifications for this specific vehicle. And if you're looking for that yourself, look at your car manual. It should be in your glove box. If it's not, you can easily find it online. Just look up what are the torque specs for year, make, model, and it'll come up for you. Make sure to like double check on, you know, several websites, or check several responses from several different people, different websites, to make sure that it is the correct one, that everyone agrees that it is the same. Usually Reddit is a good place for that kind of thing, or there's online forums for specific cars. Pretty much every car has like like a dedicated forum of some kind to that specific year, make, and model. So you should be able to find it fairly easily. For this car, it is 88.5 foot-pounds of torque on each nut. And again, we're going to take our 19 millimeter, attach it to our torque wrench, and then we're going to adjust it to 88 foot-pounds. It rests at 25 here, so I'm just going to twist it up to 50, 75, 85, so there we go. We got it at 88.5, just about. Might need a tad bit more clearance here, so I'm going to add the extendo here. And again, same thing as we tightened it before, in a star pattern. And you're going to go into the clicks, just like that. There we go. There we go. And just to double check, there we go. There we go. That's good. Very good. Excellent. So they're all torqued down to spec. That's pretty much it. That's how you do it. That's how you change a tire correctly each and every time. Again, all the specific information for the torque specs and specific tire size, wheel size, you can look all that up online pretty easy, or it's in your service manual, your car owner's manual, whatever. Hope that was good, helpful. Goodbye.